All right, welcome to the deep dive. This is your daily look at the most important current affairs, specifically pulled from the sources for you, the UPSC aspirant.
That's right. It's June 5th, 2025, and this is part one of our deep dive into the day's essential information. Our goal, as always, is to cut through the noise and give you the critical facts, connections, and insights you need for your preparation.
Yeah, think of this as solidifying your foundation. Some topics today might be entirely new, maybe sparking some fresh understanding. Others could be familiar ground, offering a chance perhaps to revise and reinforce knowledge you've already encountered. We've sifted through the material covering, well, quite a range.
A real mix, definitely. We've got ancient geology, cutting-edge tech, international relations, national schemes, cultural sites.
All the important stuff. So let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
Okay, first up, we're looking at something deeply rooted in India's past, but with very current environmental significance, the Aravalli Range and the Aravalli Green Wall Initiative.
Right, and the news drawing our attention here is the center's recent plan to develop green cover along the range. It's a massive undertaking, 700 kilometers from Gujarat all the way up to Delhi as part of this Green Wall Initiative.
And what immediately stands out from the sources about the Aravalli Range is its incredible age.
It really is. Estimates put it at around 670 million years old. I mean, to give you perspective, that makes it significantly older than the Himalayas. It's actually the oldest fold mountain range in India.
670 million years. That's deep time. It snakes approximately 692 kilometers, sort of 430 miles, generally in a northeastern direction.
Yep, passing through Gujarat, Rajasthan, Haryana, before, as you said, culminating in Delhi.
And the sources, they paint a picture of rugged hills, rocky outcrops, sparse vegetation, but they stress its absolutely crucial ecological and hydrological role for the whole region.
Exactly. Its formation traces back to the Proterozoic eon, a result of orogeny that's mountain building, driven by tectonic activity. It's primarily composed of metamorphic rock, like granite, gneiss, schist.
Tells a story of intense heat and pressure over geological time.
And over millions of years, it's undergone huge erosion. Weathering and water have basically sculpted the landscape we see today.
And that erosion is key to understanding its importance now, isn't it? Ecologically, it serves as this vital natural barrier against desertification.
Right, pushing back against the creep. It helps regulate the regional climate, supports diverse ecosystems, and crucially, it's also a significant watershed.
Feeding important rivers like the Sabarmati, Luni, and the Banas, which that's a tributary of the Yamuna.
Looking at specific features, the tallest peak is Guru Shikhar, 1,722 meters in Mount Abu, named after Dattatreya.
Ah, okay. The sources also mention Dilwara. Second highest in Rajasthan, also Mount Abu, known for those amazing 11th to 13th century Jain Dilwara temples. 5 temples, I think.
That's the one. And the range isn't just one continuous chain, it's divided. The Samvar-Sirohi ranges, they're taller, including Guru Shikhar. Then the Samvar-Khetri ranges are more like 3 discontinuous ridges.
You also find waterfalls like Bimlet and lakes like Sambar Lake within the system.
And here's a cool little fact from the sources. The Aravallis contain rich fossil deposits, trilobites, brachiopods, other marine organisms.
Wow, marine fossils. So it suggests what's now mountains was once ancient seabed.
Exactly. Mind-boggling, isn't it? And on a more immediate level, it's also rich in minerals, copper, zinc, lead, marble.
So bringing it to the present, this ancient formation is now the focus of a major modern environmental effort, the Aravalli Green Wall Project.
Yeah, this initiative is designed to create a green belt, basically a 5-kilometer buffer area around the Aravalli Hills.
And it's directly tied into the Union Environment Ministry's bigger strategy, right? Developing green corridors across the country to fight land degradation and desertification.
A critical environmental challenge, for sure. The project spans Haryana, Rajasthan, Gujarat, and Delhi, covering a huge landscape. The activities involve planting native species on scrubland, wasteland, degraded forest areas.
And they're also focused on rejuvenating water bodies, ponds, streams.
Right. And importantly, the sources highlight the focus on agroforestry and pasture development. So, linking this environmental effort directly to enhancing livelihoods for local communities, that ecology-economy connection is key.
Definitely. So for your preparation, understanding the Aravallis means connecting its deep geological history, the physical geography, to its present-day ecological role, and this large-scale government response. Multi-state, combating desertification. Highly relevant for geography, environment, maybe even history.
Absolutely. Great example of how geology shapes the present.
Yeah.
Okay, shifting gears quite a bit now, let's talk industrial emissions and environmental policy.
Right. Our next topic is flue gas and flue gas desulphurization, or FGD. The significant news here is that an expert committee, chaired by the principal scientific advisor Ajay Sood, has recommended potentially doing away with a decade-long policy.
Interesting.
A policy that mandated FGD units in all coal-fired thermal power plants.
Okay, so that signals a major policy discussion is happening. Energy, industry, environment, all intersecting. First, let's get clear on the basics from the sources. What exactly is flue gas?
It's essentially the gas released from combustion plants, the stuff that comes out when you burn fossil fuels, sometimes called exhaust gas or stack gas.
And it's not just one thing, it's a mixture.
Yeah.
CO, CO2, water vapor, NOx, and crucially, SO2 sulfur dioxide, along with trace pollutants, particulate matter.
Gets its name because it escapes through pipes or chimneys called flues.
And its exact composition, well, it varies. Depends on the fuel type, the combustion conditions.
Yeah.
But critically, this gas often contains pollutants that regulators want removed before release.
Which is why flue gas analysis is so important, according to the sources.
Exactly. It's critical for evaluating how well the combustion is working needed for environmental compliance. But it also gives operational insights, like checking air-to-fuel ratios for optimal energy output, reduced emissions,
Evaluating burner efficiency to lower fuel consumption.
and monitoring pollutant levels like NOx and SO2. Not just for standards, but because these pollutants can actually cause corrosion and damage the plant equipment itself.
Right. Which brings us to FGD flue gas desulphurization. The sources describe this as the technology specifically designed to eliminate sulfur compounds, especially SO2, from these emissions.
The process involves adding absorbents to the flue gas to capture the sulfur. Things like ammonia or sodium sulfite can be used, but the sources note that wet limestone scrubbing, using a slurry of lime or limestone and water, is a very common method.
So in a scrubber tower, the untreated flue gas is sprayed with this limestone mix.
Yeah, and the SO2 reacts chemically with the absorbent. The sources say this can remove up to, 95% of the SO2?
Wow, 95%. So the news about potentially removing the mandate for these units is pretty significant. It directly impacts air quality regulations, the environmental footprint of power plants.
Definitely. Understanding what flue gas is, why these pollutants matter, and how FGD works is essential for environment, sci-tech, energy policy aspects of your prep. It's a clear case of technical details driving major policy debates.
Absolutely. Okay, from complex industrial processes, let's move to something cutting edge in medicine and nanotech, nanozymes.
Yeah, this is exciting. The news is that researchers at IAC, the Indian Institute of Science, have developed an artificial metal-based nanozyme, and it shows potential for treating abnormal blood clotting, like pulmonary thromboembolism, or PTE.
Okay, before we dive into nanozymes, maybe a quick refresher on regular enzymes. The source reminds us of the proteins in living things that speed up reactions, building things, breaking things down, essential for life.
Right, naturally produced, but also used in manufactured products. Now, nanozymes, as the name suggests, these are nanomaterials, incredibly tiny materials, engineered to have enzyme-like characteristics.
So they mimic natural enzymes, but they're artificial, nanoscale. Why is that a big deal? The sources list several advantages over natural enzymes and even traditional artificial ones.
For starters, they're less expensive to produce, and they can be recycled.
They can also be manufactured and stored more easily and for longer. That reduces costs further, makes them more practical. Big plus compared to sensitive biological enzymes.
And here's where it gets really interesting for medical uses. Unlike typical catalysts or enzymes needing harsh conditions, high temp, pressure, extreme pH nanozymes can work in environments much closer to physiological conditions, inside the human body.
Okay, that's key. And they can be designed to respond to external stimuli, too.
Yes, and their activity is highly tunable. Because their behavior depends on size and composition, researchers can design nanozymes with very specific catalytic activity by varying their shape, structure, what they're made of.
That tunability sounds like a game changer. The sources also note they can have integrated multifunctions beyond just catalysis, which is unique.
Yeah, and being nanoscale gives them a large surface area, makes them easy to modify, link up with biological molecules. They can even self-assemble, kind of mimicking biology, which makes incorporating biological bits easier.
The potential applications seem huge. Diagnostics, targeted therapy, biosensing. The sources specifically mention their antioxidant activity.
Right, acting like the body's own system to protect cells. That makes them potentially useful for treating neurological diseases linked to reactive oxygen species.
Fascinating. This is definitely frontier research in sci-tech with direct health implications. Understanding nanozymes, their advantages, their potential, crucial stuff.
Absolutely. Okay, from the microscopic to the truly massive, the MSC Irina.
Ah, yes, the big ship. The news here is that the world's largest container ship, the MSC Irina, recently made its maiden call at Vizhinjam Port in Kerala.
That's significant because it's the first time this specific ship, or any of its class, has visited a South Asian port.
World's largest container ship as of 2025, the sources say. It's the lead ship in a series of 6 identical ultra-large container vessels, ULCVs, the MSC Irina class. Built in 2023, sails under the Liberian flag, operated by the Swiss-based MSC.
The size is just hard to picture. 399.9 meters long, 61.3 meters wide.
Wow. The capacity is what gets me. 24,346 TEUs. That's 20-foot equivalent units. The sources point out this beats the previous record holder by over 150 TEUs.
To visualize that, it can carry more than 24,300 standard 20-foot shipping containers, stacked up to 22 decks high. It's like a floating city block of containers.
Just massive. But its significance isn't just the size, right? The MSC Irina is highlighted as a pioneer in green shipping.
Exactly. It incorporates several cutting-edge innovations to reduce its environmental impact.
Like air lubrication tech, energy-efficient propellers, advanced hull design, things like that.
Precisely. These features significantly cut fuel consumption and lower its carbon footprint. Makes it one of the most eco-friendly mega container ships built so far.
So this connects global trade, infrastructure, like the importance of ports like Vizhinjam, that can handle these giants' maritime tech advancements and environmental concerns in shipping. Relevant for economy, geography, ports, and sci-tech.
Shows how tech is pushing boundaries in both global trade and environmental responsibility.
Okay, moving on. Let's look at a national initiative focused on governance and social justice. The UMEED Portal.
Right. The news links the launch of this portal specifically to June 6th. UMEED stands for Unify Waqf Management, Empowerment, Efficiency, and Development.
Its core purpose is to be a centralized digital platform for registering Waqf properties across the entire country. Aims are better management, more transparency.
And its introduction follows the recently enacted Waqf Amendment Bill 2025, which got presidential assent. The actual registration will be handled by the state Waqf boards.
Key features outlined in the sources. Mandatory registration for all Waqf properties within 6 months of launch and requires full details, measurements, geotag locations.
There's a specific detail mentioned. Properties registered under women's names are explicitly stated as not eligible to be classified as Waqf properties.
Okay. But the sources also emphasize that women, children, and people from economically weaker sections will continue to be key beneficiaries of Waqf assets. So the registration rule doesn't change the beneficiary status.
That's an important clarification from the source, yes. It also mentions potential extensions of 1 to 2 months for registration delays due to technical reasons. But critically, properties unregistered beyond that will be considered disputed and referred to the Waqf Tribunal.
Okay. And the sources define Waqf property donated by Muslims for specific religious or charitable purposes, ownership with God, benefits directed as specified, and the Central Waqf Council, CWC, a statutory advisory body under Minority Affairs since '64.
So this is a significant governance move. Transparency, organized management via a digital platform, highlighting legal reforms, relevant for governance, social justice, Indian polity.
Right. From governance, let's look at a geographical feature that's been, well, active lately, Mount Etna.
Yes, Mount Etna. Recently made headlines with an explosive eruption, ash, smoke, rock fragments sent high up.
It's an active stratovolcano, east coast of Sicily, Italy, largest island in the Med.
And it's a giant. Highest peak in Italy, south of the Alps, largest active volcano in Europe, 5 main summit craters doing most of the work, plus flank vents for flank eruptions.
The recent eruption type was described as strombolian.
Characterized by these discrete, moderately explosive bursts, ejects material hundreds of meters high, caused by gas bubbles in the magma.
Named after Stromboli, another Italian volcano known for frequent, smaller eruptions.
Exactly. And Etna isn't just geologically significant, it's also a World Heritage Site since 2013. Its eruptive history is incredibly long, traceable back 500,000 years, with documented activity for at least 2,700 years.
Connects directly to physical geography, geology, plate tectonics, natural hazards. The history and World Heritage status add layers, relevant for geography and environment.
Okay, let's shift focus now to a regional international body. ECOWAS, the
Yeah.
Economic Community of West African States.
Right. The news is that ECOWAS recently celebrated its 50th anniversary.
It's a regional group established by the Lagos Treaty way back on May 28, 1975, in Lagos, Nigeria.
And its founding aim was pretty ambitious. Promote cooperation and integration towards ultimately an economic union in West Africa, raising living standards, economic stability, fostering relations, contributing to African progress.
Longer-term goals include things like a single common currency, a single large trading bloc covering industry, transport, telecoms, energy, finance, even social and cultural matters.
The current members listed are Benin, Cabo Verde, Cote d'Ivoire, the Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Senegal, and Togo.
Though a very significant recent development highlighted in the news is the official withdrawal of 3 states, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. That took effect January 29, 2025. Changes the dynamics.
Definitely. And beyond economics, ECOWAS has also played a security role, trying to mediate conflicts. It operated that peacekeeping force, ECOMOG, led by Nigeria back in the 90s, early 2000s. Headquarters are in Abuja, Nigeria.
And for our listeners' context, India's relationship. India has held observer status in ECOWAS since 2004.
So understanding regional groupings, their aims, economic and security membership dynamics, especially those withdrawals, and India's engagement. Key for IR, geography, Indian foreign policy.
Right. Okay. From international bodies to a crucial national social welfare initiative, the National Action Plan for Drug Demand Reduction, or NAPDDR.
The latest news is the union government inviting proposals to set up district de-addiction centers, DDACs, in 291 identified GAP districts across 30 states and UTs as part of NAPDR.
NAPDR itself, it's a centrally sponsored scheme, running from 2018 through 2025 currently. The main aim is tackling the adverse consequences of drug abuse through a multi-pronged strategy: education, de-addiction, rehabilitation.
And the scheme provides financial assistance to various players, state governments, UT administrations for things like preventive education, awareness, capacity building.
Also supports NGOs and voluntary organizations crucial on the ground, helps them run IRCAs, integrated rehabilitation centers, CPLI, community peer-led interventions, ODICs, outreach and drop-in centers, and these new DDACs. Government hospitals also get support for addiction treatment facilities, ATFs.
The objectives are really comprehensive: creating awareness, education on ill effects, reducing stigma, facilitating social reintegration.
Also developing human resources, building capacity, facilitating research, training, documentation. The goal is providing community-based services covering the whole spectrum: identification, motivation, counseling, de-addiction, aftercare, rehabilitation for whole person recovery, or WPR.
It's about a multi-agency approach, addressing all forms of drug abuse, alleviating the consequences.
And the source connects this to the Nasha Mukt campaign, described as a 3-pronged attack: supply curb by Narcotics Control Bureau, outreach demand reduction by Social Justice and Empowerment, and treatment by the Health Department.
Vital topic for understanding policy responses to a major social issue. The structure of NAPDDR, its aims, who gets funding, and this focus on DDACs in GAP districts, important for social justice and governance.
Next, let's look at an initiative focused on agriculture, specifically horticulture, the Clean Plant Program.
The news highlights the launch of this program for grapes, oranges, and pomegranates, starting in Maharashtra.
This is an Indian government initiative, and the aim is pretty clear: boost the availability of disease-free, high-quality planting material for horticultural crops, fruits, vegetables, flowers.
So the core idea is enhancing productivity and quality, ensuring farmers get certified, disease-free material right from the start, reduces crop losses, improves yields.
It has a few key components. First, establishing 9 clean plant centers, CPCs. They'll handle disease diagnostics, treatments, develop healthy mother plants for nurseries, and quarantine planting materials.
Second, infrastructure development, setting up large-scale nurseries to multiply the clean material from those CPC mother plants for distribution.
And third, a robust regulatory and certification framework. That's key for accountability and traceability in production and distribution.
Implemented by the Ministry of Agriculture, the National Horticulture Board, NHB, and ICAR.
Directly relevant for agriculture, food security, farmer income. Shows government using tech and regulation to improve horticulture. Touches on economy and sci-tech too.
Okay, and finally for part 1 today, let's turn to a significant cultural site in Jammu and Kashmir, the Kheer Bhawani Temple.
The news bringing this up was prominent J&K leaders joining Kashmiri Pandits offering prayers there on Jyeshta Ashtami,
The temple itself is in Tulamula village, near Srinagar, J&K.
dedicated to the Hindu goddess Ragna Devi, an incarnation of goddess Durga.
History mentioned. Built by Maharaja Pratap Singh in 1912, renovated later by Maharaja Hari Singh. And the name changed from Bhawani Mandir because kheer, the dessert, is the main offering.
Right, and it holds particular significance for Kashmiri Pandits. Goddess Ragna Devi is widely worshipped as their Kuldevi, or patron deity. The big annual event is the Kheer Bhawani on Jyeshta Ashtami, usually May or June.
Architecturally, described as simple but beautiful, smooth gray stones. The main altar is unique, built right in the middle of a pond. Marble platform, idol inside, roofed by 4 stone pillars.
And there's that notable feature, a holy spring flowing from the western end, known to change colors. The sources mention a local belief that the waters turn black as a warning of some impending calamity.
Interesting. So important for understanding the cultural, religious landscape of J&K, especially for the Kashmir Pandit community. Connects history, architecture, religious practice. Relevant for art and culture, history, geography.
So wow, in just this part 1, we've gone from ancient mountains and modern green walls
To industrial emissions policy debates, cutting-edge nanozymes,
the world's largest container ship, national portals for property and de-addiction.
an active volcano, a major regional body, and a significant cultural site. Quite the range.
It really is. A reminder of how interconnected everything is and how these varied pieces add depth to your knowledge base. Each topic, pulled from the sources, gives you those crucial facts, those potential aha moments.
So important for preparation. And remember, this was just part 1 of our June 5th deep dive. There's always more to explore.
Absolutely. So to ensure you don't miss part 2 and keep building this understanding with us, please take a moment now to like and subscribe to the deep dive feed.
Yeah, please do. And as we wrap up this segment, here's something to think about. How do these ancient, slow-moving forces, like the tectonics that built the Aravallis millions of years ago, still shape immediate challenges like desertification today?
And how does that contrast with the incredibly rapid potential impact of new tech like nanozymes, or the swift shifts we see in international relations, like countries withdrawing from ECOWAS? That interplay between deep time and sudden change. Something to mull over.
Definitely food for thought. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll be back soon with part 2 of your June 5th Current Affairs deep dive. Until then, keep learning.